Welcome to Hope TV Newswatch tonight. My name is Melissa Oduor. It's Wednesday and the beginning of what the AZIMIO coalition calls the third wave of anti-government protests, or Maandamano as we locally refer to it. We have lined up for you the events that marked this day countrywide here on Hope TV Newswatch. On the sign language tonight is Fiona Mweresa. Newswatch begins now. AZIMIO coalition principals were in no-show during the beginning of the third wave of the three-day anti-government protests that kicked off today, with a section of their supporters engaging in running battles with the police for the better part of the day. The principals, in a statement, however, condemned the arrest of some of the AZIMIO leaders, claiming that the move was a desperate attempt by the government to paralyze the opposition. As Kennedy Kimani now reports, AZIMIO leader Raila Odinga has vowed that the protests will continue on Thursday, adding that he will not give up fighting for the rights of Kenyans.
This was Nairobi's central business district for the better part of the day. A ghost town. Little or no activity happened today in the country's capital city as the AZIMIO coalition began its three-day anti-government protest to pressure the government to lower the high cost of living. Unlike the other demonstrations, today the AZIMIO principals were a no-show in the demos. However, a section of Kenyans engaged in running battles with law enforcers in their estates and neighborhoods, despite the government announcing that the protests were unlawful. Despite the AZIMIO principals not participating in the demonstrations, the coalition claimed that some of their leaders were arrested. In a statement, AZIMIO condemned the arrest of some of the AZIMIO leaders, claiming that the arrests are a desperate attempt by the government to paralyze the opposition and sabotage their constitutional right to demonstrate. The leaders that AZIMIO claim have been arrested include Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino, Kilifi South MP Ken Chonga, Kilifi County Speaker Teddy Mwambire, Mabatini Member of County Assembly Wilfred Odalo, Ngei Ward MCA Redson Onyango, Nairobi County Assembly Budget Officers Eric Otieno and Antonio Tsula, as well as close associates of Raila Odinga, Morris Ogeta and Dennis Onyango. President William Ruto has, however, defended the police officers, stating that the police must be firm on hooligans. Speaking today in Kericho County, the head of state said that the police have a duty to protect every Kenyan's property and life.
We must protect our country. We must protect our democracy by making sure that our politics is devoid of violence or chaos or destruction of private business or destruction of public property. We must protect this country, and the police must be firm on hooligans, on criminals, on people who want to destroy other people's business. The police have a duty to protect every Kenyan's property and life. Ni kweli ama si kweli? Tunaelewana?
AZIMIO leader Raila Odinga has, however, maintained that protest will continue on Thursday, adding that he will not give up fighting for the rights of Kenyans. Kennedy Kimani, Hope TV Newswatch, Nairobi.
Well, that story concludes for us. However, there are latest developments on that. The Interior Cabinet Secretary, Professor Kithure Kindiki, together with the Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogo, have issued a statement, and this is what it reads. On the 18th of July 2023, the government took precautionary measures of ordering all primary and secondary schools in Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu counties to remain closed on the 19th of July 2023. As indicated, the measure was meant to ensure the safety of school children based on credible intelligence that criminal elements were intent on engaging them with security agencies around certain schools. Now, the government has now undertaken an evaluation of the current security situation in various parts of the country, including in Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu counties. The relevant security agencies have established that the security situation, in the three counties and in other parts of the country has been restored to normal. On the basis of the evaluation, it is hereby directed that all primary and secondary schools in Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu counties reopen for normal school activities on the 20th of July 2023. The government has undertaken adequate measures to guarantee the safety and security of learners and their schools across the country. Moving on, President William Ruto and his Deputy Rigathi Gachagua were this afternoon in Kericho County, where he officially commissioned the 1.2 billion shilling Kimungu water project in Dukamoja Ainamoi constituency. The project is expected to benefit 200,000 households in line with the Kenya Kwanza government's agenda of clean and affordable water supply to all rural and urban areas. During the event, there was drama as a section of the Kericho County Assembly MCAs walked away from the event, citing harassment by the presidential security details. Addressing the ongoing protests in the country, President Ruto castigated the opposition for abandoning talks to resolve the political stalemate and urged them to reconsider their stance using constitutionally acceptable means.
Lakini mimi nataka niwahakikishie sasa tumeweka mpango maalum. Saa hizi nikiongea na nyinyi, tayari kati ya zile dams 57 tulikuwa nayo katika mpango ya Jubilee. Sasa tumetangaza 33 of them tayari, tumetangaza kandarasi. Kwa sababu hapa Kericho, mbali na hii dam yenu, mbali na hii maji hapa ya Kimugu, ambaye tumetumia zaidi ya bilioni 1.2 tuko na mpango awamu ya pili ya 1.4 billion ambayo tunaanza tena saa hizi. Tupange maji ambayo itatoka kule Itare, itaenda Litein, na pia tutapanga sewage ya hapa Kericho Town. Ili mambo yenu ya Kericho Town tunataka iwe city, hatutaki iwe kijiji tena.
Mimi nashukuru rais wetu William Ruto. Wewe kama ni pale kwetu ningekuita jaba. Kwa sababu wewe umeonyesha wewe sio rais wa Serelak. Wewe sio rais ya mkate ya Bluebird. Wewe ni rais ambaye alilelewa na kukunywa murusik. Na wamejua hivyo siku ya leo. Wameleta hiyo maandamano na juzi tukawaambia haiwezekani. Na juzi tukawakumbusha rais ni William Ruto. Na William Ruto sio wa kutishwa.
Kenya hatutaki fujo, hatutaki vita, hatutaki kuharibu mali, hatutaki kuharibu vifaa ya serikali. Tunataka tuwe ni taifa ambayo tunaheshimu demokrasia. Na demokrasia inaamuliwa kwa kura, haiamuliwi kwa fujo, haiamuliwi kwa vita. Ni kweli ama si kweli? So tukubaliane kama wa Kenya ya kwamba tutalinda taifa letu, tutalinda demokrasia yetu, na siasa yetu haitakuwa na vita, haitakuwa ya kuharibu mali, haitakuwa ya kuharibu barabara. Itakuwa ni siasa bila chuki na bila vita, kwa sababu hii taifa letu la Kenya hatuna spare part ya Kenya ingine. This is our only home.
Now, Kenya has continued to castigate the United Nations Human Rights Office over a statement issued on the 14th of this month on the anti-government protests held in the country. In its statement, the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights condemned the violence and use of force by police during the anti-government protests by AZIMIO La Umoja coalition, claiming that 23 people were killed during opposition protests. However, Kenya's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, led by Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua, has strongly criticized the UN office, citing inaccuracy and lack of professionalism on the part of the UN body in its reporting of the protests. Alice Dana with that report.
The government of Kenya has once again responded to the United Nations following a statement by the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, OHCHR, on 14th July this year, faulting the police for using excessive force during last week's protest called by the opposition AZIMIO La Umoja One Kenya coalition. The UN's Human Rights Commission, represented by its spokesperson Jeremy Lawrence, expressed concerns over what he called police use of excessive, unnecessary, and disproportionate force against demonstrators in Kenya. The statement by the Office of the High Commissioner in Geneva called for prompt and thorough investigations into the deaths caused by police use of firearms against protesters on Wednesday last week, and asked the Kenyan government to ensure the right to peacefully assemble as guaranteed by the Kenyan Constitution and international human rights law. Kenya's Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs Alfred Mutua has, however, strongly criticized the UN office, saying the reports were misleading and appear to have been written in support of a propaganda campaign by people opposed to the democratic will of the Kenyan people.
The ministry has protested to the office of the spokesperson on his unsubstantiated statement. We will be engaging through appropriate channels to ensure that the international community is not sucked into conspiracies that are aimed at destabilizing our nations.
Speaking at the Foreign and Diaspora Affairs headquarters in Nairobi, says Mutua challenged the UN body to provide a proof of deaths and claims of police brutality.
He talks about widespread violence. Where was the widespread violence? We just saw violence in some cities in Europe the other day, which you cannot even compare with what happened in a few places. Very wrong. These are language written by people here for them in New York, talking about disproportionate use of force. We saw areas whereby there were no police at all, and people were destroying roads, burning things with no police presence, where they cannot say that they were incited or provoked by the police. And so they're talking about robbery. There are about 23 people. Who are those 23 people who they say died? I'd like to know them, their names and others.
And while assuring that Kenya is keeping a close eye on the current architects of the violence and looting experience in the last couple of days and will take appropriate actions, Cs. Mutua called on other countries to scrutinize and not allow the AZIMIO leaders leading the demos into their countries.
We urge our international friends to closely scrutinize the architects of the insurrection and anti-democratic elements when they wish to visit their countries and not allow some of them to go and taint their democratic principles.
At the same time, Cs. Mutua noted that the country is still receiving many visitors despite the ongoing AZIMIO anti-government protests and assured foreign investors that Kenya is still open for business.
Kenya is still open and will always be open for business because as a government we continue to position our country as the preferred trade, investment and tourism destination. As we speak, many people are still visiting Kenya. This morning, flights came in with many people. We are receiving many requests for official and state visits because they have faith in our country.
Meanwhile, the usual business streets in Nairobi's Central Business District today remained largely deserted, with businesses remaining closed. Some business people decried losses while calling on the government and opposition to come to an agreement.
Kitu ambayo naweza sema ukweli leo biashara iko chini, sababu ukiangalia zile maduka ambayo wanatupatia sisi parcel, zile duka ambao wanatupatia kazi kama agrovet, zile working place kama uko hapa ili kupeleka pa nene mzigo kuna. Sasa kumaanisha leo kazi iko chini sana kabisa.
Even as Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua assures foreign investors and tourists that Kenya is open for business despite the ongoing AZIMIO anti-government protests, back here in the country, business is unusual as majority of the businesses have remained closed today due to the ongoing protests for fear of being looted. For Hope TV Newswatch at Nairobi CBD, I'm Alice Diana.
Now, the Ministry of Interior and National Administration has further added to that conversation, saying except for isolated cases of hooliganism and breach of peace in a few spots in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Migori, Homa Bay, Siaya, and Nakuru counties, and Wote and Emali towns, the rest of the country remained calm and members of the public conducted their activities in the usual manner. The government commends the exemplary work of law enforcement agencies who remain on duty for long hours in order to ensure that criminals do not disrupt public order. Overall, the police acted professionally and with restraint in the management of the provocative situations that arose in the course of the day. Security agencies remain alert throughout and will increase their operational capabilities tomorrow and in the days ahead. Now, moving on. As widespread cases of violence during the anti-government protests continue to be reported, the Commission on Administrative Justice, also known as the Office of the Ombudsman, has called for investigations into the matter, noting that criminal acts have led to unfortunate loss of lives as well as destruction of public and private properties. The Commission's Chair, Florence Kajuju, has also urged the relevant government authorities and law enforcement agencies to adhere to the Constitution, respect human rights, and refrain from use of disproportionate force in handling any threat to peace and security. The Ombudsman has further appealed to the opposition party's leadership to ensure that the protests are conducted in accordance with the Constitution, which requires demonstrations to be carried out peacefully and for the demonstrators to be unarmed. Now, a section of local leaders has castigated the nationwide demonstrations called by the opposition, saying they are merely meant to seek leadership through the back door and not to serve the common Kenyans' interests. Speaking separately, Machakos Town MP Caleb Mutiso and former Laikipia woman representative Kate Warogoro said that the protests are disguised as peaceful demonstrations, yet they are characterized by looting and anarchy. They called for calm and normalcy as the government implements its development agenda.
And we are saying this from Nanyuki, Laikipia County, Nyahururu, Doldo na Laikipia yote mzima. Watu ya Azimio mutafuta mahali ingine ya kwenda kuandamana. Atishia watu hapa atisiji, we are writing to Hague, we are writing to international community, you are calling upon embassies to help you. I want to ask the Azimio people, when last did you invite the church, the clergy, our men and women, our businesses, our industries? When did you invite them to have a conversation in regards to their economy and the status of economy in this country? Hatujaona mkiita mkutano tuzungumzie uchumi na jinsi tutasaidia William Ruto kujenga uchumi wa Kenya. But we have seen you criticizing, demonizing, insulting and inciting our youth to go to the street.
Laikipia tuko na amani na tunatangaza tuko na amani na sisi hatutaki maandamano, na kwa hivyo tunataka kumwambia Bwana Raila, sisi tunataka amani. Wewe wakati unaambia vijana watoke waende wakapigane, kwanza uleta watoto wako mbele. Nyinyi viongozi wote wa Azimio, muleta vijana wenu wawe laini ya kwanza, na ili waweze kupigwa vile mnataka vijana wetu wapigwe, wamama wahangaike. Kwa hivyo tunawaomba, kama mnataka vita, muleta watoto wenu kwanza.
Wakae shidi, waongee, wajue shida ile iko katika Kenya yetu, angalau watengeneze amani. Sababu amani ya Kenya yetu imepotezwa na watu wawili, Raila Amolo Odinga na rais wetu wa Kenya. Ni vyema wakae chini wasungumuze kuliko kushikana, huyu ameuma mwingine amejikaza. Hiyo sasa ndio inatumalizia.
Just before we take our first short break here on Hope TV Newswatch, lawyer Danston of AZIMIO Coalition has moved to court and filed a habeas corpus application seeking to have police produce Raila Odinga's bodyguard, a spokesperson Babu Owino, and several MPs and MCAs. Omari has listed Raila's bodyguard Maurice Ogeta, spokesperson Dennis Onyango, Babu Owino, the MP for Embakasi East, Ken Chonga, the MP for Kilifi South, Teddy Mwambire, the Speaker for Kilifi County Assembly, Wilfred Odalo, the MCA for Mabatini Ward, Radson Onyango, the MCA for Ngei Ward, Eric Otieno, the Budget Officer for Nairobi County Assembly, and Anthony Otsula, the Budget Officer for the Nairobi County Assembly, as the applicants. We'll take a short break now. We'll be right back with many more news items.
The Asian community in Kenya has been nationally recognized as the 44th tribe of the people of this great nation.
For me, God is real in Christianity. I talk to Him, He talks to me. I fail, He forgives me.
When I first read the first book of Genesis, it gave me an orderly sense of accounts of creation. Day 1 is what He does. Day 2, He creates this. Day 3.
Every third Thursday of the month, we bring you Asia Testify,
where we will be listening to life-transforming stories of Asian believers who have walked with the Lord. Only here on Hope TV. Look and live.
Because women talk more and they are not very strong physically, when they want to hurt their husbands or their children or anybody, they use the tongue.
Families under God.
How can we continue to live carelessly in ease?
Join Reverend Dr. Judy Mbugua as she imparts families through prayer, evangelism, and social transformation with the Word of God.
You know, God is not asking you to manage. He's asking you to be available. Amen. And He will make you able and capable.
Families Under God, only on Hope TV.
Welcome back. Nakuru residents have engaged police in running battles during the anti-government protests that turned violent as vandals descended on a building reported to belong to Nakuru West MP Samuel Arama. Several protesters were arrested over the widespread unrest in Nakuru West estates of Pondamali, Industrial Area, Shabab, and Koleni, as the protesters lit bonfires and erected boulders along the roads.
Nilikuwa nimetembea kwa constituency kidogo, vile mnaona iko vurugu imeendelea zaidi. I'm being told that these people are here, some of them were fed from elsewhere. I'm still thinking walitoka wapi, lakini I think the situation has been contained by police officers. Kitu ya kushangaza ni kwamba hii watu si maandamano wanafanya. Sasa wameanza kuharibu vitu ya watu, hata kwa hoteli yangu huku chini wameenda wamepomoa. Na sasa juzi nilikuwa nimeona watu wakiongea wakisema maandamano inatakikana kuwa ya amani. But hii maandamano si ya amani. Na itafika wakati sasa sisi, including myself, I would have to defend my property. Siwezi kukubali vitu zangu nimejenga watu waanze kubomoa for no reason, because mimi sijaelewa ni kwa nini. Sisi tumesema tunafanya kazi pamoja. Hii nimetoka kuongea na gavana wa Nakuru. Yeye ni gavana ya UDA. Ameita tunaenda kuongea kwa maslahi ya watu wote wa Nakuru Town West. Kwa nini kama anaongea na Susan Kiika? Kwa nini yeye hawezi kuenda aongee kama alishindwa? Anataka kwenda kuongea wapi? Sisi tunatokea wapi na hii maneno ya maandamano? Tuwache maneno ya maandamano tafadhali, tusaidiane, kwa sababu hii nchi ikiharibika haiwezi kuharibikia William Ruto peke yake. Itaharibikia sisi sote.
And the nationwide protests called by the opposition AZIMIO La Umoja coalition have elicited mixed reactions among residents of Narok Town. Across sections say they support the truce by the opposition and the government, while others support the demonstrations. Anthony Torome, a director of Narok Line Transport SACCO, said demonstrations are not the solution to the current problems facing Kenyans and called for discussions by both sides. He noted that the weekly protests are hurting the economic activities of the people, especially the middle class, who depend on small enterprises to fend for their families. Matatu operator Jeremiah Kapolonto, on his part, supported the demos, saying the cost of living was now unbearable to most Kenyans. He cited the fuel prices that have gone up and made those in the transport sector, together with commuters, suffer.
Sisi tuna magari zaidi ya 300. So ukiangalia kila gari uhesabu kama gari na dereva na wale wanahudumu ni watu kama 1500 ambao leo kwa sababu ambazo zinaweza watu wanaweza kaa chini na wakubaliane, hawa watu imebidi leo wataenda mkono kafu bila kitu watapelekea watu. Sababu kama leo ikiwa ni kama siku ya kawaida, masaa kama haya huwa tumetoa gari karibu gari 50-60 zinakuwa zimeenda. Na sasa ukiangalia sasa ni gari ya 4, na hata ukiangalia gari pale, ukiangalia gari nyuma yangu pale hata utaona haina abiria. Haya, kama ni Kisumu hakuwa gari haziendi kabisa. Kama ni zile gari zinaenda Kisii haziendi kabisa. Huko hakuendeki. So si tungeomba serikali na watu wa opposition watafute njia ya kuleta suluhu. Waache kuumiza wananchi, kwa sababu hii hali si nzuri na hii si suluhu.
Mafuta imepanda, kila siku tunaenda kerech. Sasa kama sisi wa driver tunaumia sana. Wewe Ruto umesema ni bottom up. Sasa bottom up ni mbaya sana. Inaumiza sisi.
Naomba William Ruto na deputy wake Kashagwa wafanye Kenya hii, wamefanya Kenya ikuwe mbaya, maisha ni ngumu, na tunataka pia amani na asaidie watu wa mkokoteni zaidi. Tunaona uchumi uko juu zaidi na tunataka sisi wa vijana tunaumia sana juu ya uchumi wetu. Uchumi wetu uko juu zaidi. Lakini ninaomba Raila Odinga na William Ruto washikane, wasungumuse Kenya yetu iwe na amani.
And Water and Sanitation Cabinet Secretary Alice Wahome has appealed to Kenyans to strongly reject the call to demonstrate by the AZIMIO La Umoja coalition. The CS said past anti-government protests called by the Raila Odinga-led team had turned to be about lawlessness, loss of lives, and destruction of property. Speaking in Embu during an inspection tour of Tana Waterworks Development Agency projects across the county, CS Wahome regretted the destruction of the expressway and the destruction of the DCC's office in Emali. Wahome called on the opposition to call off the demonstrations, saying they had demonstrated that they do not have the capacity to manage their supporters. This comes as police in the area are questioning 2 individuals who are found donating food to street children in Embu town to allegedly lure them into demonstrations. Embu West Sub-County Deputy OCPD Agnes Magiri said they had enhanced patrols to ensure the prevailing peace and tranquility was not disturbed.
Raila Odinga will be the last politician to hold our nation at ransom by claiming that Kenyans have a right to do demonstration in a violent manner, destroy infrastructure, ensure our children are not going to school. If this is going to be the last time we are having this kind of con politicians in the name of Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, and Martha Karua, and other who are smoking bang, marijuana, like the guy who always with Raila Odinga, I'm forgetting his name, Wajokoya. We don't need, this country doesn't need such kind of politicians who smoke bang from morning to evening, and they claim they want to lead this country. They are fathers of anarchy, fathers of violence, and we are calling upon all Kenyans of goodwill to protect property wherever they are, to ensure there's no loss of life is going to be lost today. But more importantly, once we go back to Parliament, we will ensure the bill is fast-tracked so that it can become law, and we can have a procedural way of conducting demonstrations, picketing, presentation of petition to public authorities.
An avid supporter of AZIMIO leader Raila Odinga, known as Shadrach Omondi, Elias Jacob, has been charged with offensive behavior after a video clip emerged of him reportedly asking the opposition leader to go to Russia and obtain ammunition in order to invade State House. Omondi appeared before Milimani's senior principal magistrate Gilbert Chikwe, where he pleaded not guilty. He has been freed on a bond of 100,000 shillings or a cash bail of 50,000 shillings, as his advocate defended him on grounds that he was fighting for the rights of Kenyans.
Which is completely not possible. Because the state say they don't know where he said this, and it is in a public gathering. Well, this is a political case. That will not even start trial. The state will, as it is known, it will drop these charges with time.
So the accused may be released on a bond of 100,000 shillings with one surety, or a cash bail of 50,000 shillings with 2 contact persons. And the pretrial direction shall be done on the 2nd of August 2024.
And the Senate was forced to adjourn its sittings Wednesday morning after the House failed to raise a quorum to transact business. Senate Speaker Emerson Kingi ordered the quorum bell to be rung for 5 minutes, but only a few members showed up against the sitting orders, which require 15 senators to be in the House or attend virtually for the House to proceed with its business. The morning session was expected to host Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu to answer to questions by lawmakers. The Senate was also scheduled to debate 3 motions, including the declaration of cattle rustling as a national disaster, establishment of a special fund for victims, and integration of ethnic minorities and marginalized communities in Kenya.
Honorable Senators, there being no quorum, and having rung the bell pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 40, the Senate stands adjourned until today, Wednesday, 19th July 2023 at 2:30 p.m.
Thank you for watching Hope TV, the station where you look and live. For feedback regarding our programming, you can WhatsApp us through 0708 222 323, SMS 22232, website www.hopemediakenya.org, or scan the QR code below. Let's take a short break now. We'll be back with the day's business, a special episode for lessons from an entrepreneur, as well as the day's sports. Thank you for watching Hope TV, the station where you look and live. For feedback regarding our programming, you can WhatsApp us through 0708 222 323, SMS 22232, website www.hopemediakenya.org, or scan the QR code below. So some business now. Today's episode of Lessons from an Entrepreneur, we venture into Yummy World, a cakes and pastries business that is operated by a married couple. Jessica and Samuel share their business entrepreneurship journey that was birthed from a personal challenge and a passion to make a difference in the cake and pastries business. Experts say you can never go wrong with the food business. Our entrepreneurs today, Jessica and Samuel, set up Yummy World Kenya, a cake and pastry business in Kenya. Now they share their journey of setting up a business as a couple and some of the challenges they had to encounter along the way. My name is Melissa Oduor, and this is Lessons from the Entrepreneur.
My name is Jessica. I'm the founder and the CEO of Yummy World Kenya, a mother of two, married to Samuel.
My name is Samuel Pere. I do the marketing, I do deliveries, and basically the customer interaction side of things, as she does the production. We've been together in this for close to
10 years.
10 years in terms of running the business, but now as a company officially, I think we've done between 5 and 6 there.
Yes.
For us, we do pastries and cakes. So basically cakes, other pastries like croissant. We also do event packages, mainly sound, MC, and wedding cakes or party cakes. And at the same time, Koi does a lot of training for people who want to learn how to bake. But Zone is done on need basis.
Let's say if you have some small parties, you can call us to do for you snacks, like samosas, sweets, those small snacks that are done when you don't have like that major cooking.
For Jessica and Samuel, the creation of Yummy World Kenya began from a simple need to cater to the pastry needs of their friends and be more at home for the sake of their children. Their roles as a couple managing the cake and pastries business is quite clear.
The origin of the name began almost not like a joke, but we're just trying to play around with names. We looked at the issue of a vision of a greater purpose and a greater growth, and we saw ourselves really taking it to the world. So naturally just turned from Yummy, it became Yummy World, and we decided to go from there.
For us to start Yummy World, we had inspirations, and I think number one was we wanted to be more creative, and I felt I wanted to interact with customers and just understand what customers like.
I think at one point, our son had a challenge of seeing the mother because of the crazy shift. Basically, the hotel industry, you know that there's a lot of issues with time. Shifts are crazy. You can be on night shift, you can be on day, afternoon that will end at night, night that will end early morning. So our son got to a point also where he missed the mom and was like, hey mom, kona shindanga job. And that prompted us to think a lot about family. And so we decided to also venture out. So initially it started when you were still at work. Started building up on the brand, doing 1 or 2 weddings over the weekend, a few cakes here and there. Then finally, at one time, we were actually probed by our sister to do it. And we really do appreciate that initial push. And we resigned in what?
2016.
2016.
Yes.
And yeah, so officially the journey now began as a brand in 2016. When we began that thought process of wanting to build up the brand, and Koi started doing orders, and decided seeing the business can peak, we decided to pull in our savings, buy some things before she quit job. We randomly went to town. At that time, there was an Muindi on Biashara Street.
Yeah.
Bought an oven, bought this, bought that. Because initially we had started with the home oven, the 4-burner with an oven.
And a hand mixer.
Exactly, that's the one you had used for the longest time.
Even wedding cakes.
Yes.
Jessica takes us through the simple yet artistic work of decorating a cake.
I'm just doing the icing. It was baked already. So I'm supposed to finish the decoration. So this is called soft icing. It's cream. Most guys love this one because it has less sugar. And most guys prefer it for birthday cakes. But nowadays I see even wedding cakes, guys are going for these than the hard icing. And you have to make sure you're clean when you're handling cakes, because you see now this cake is already cooked, it's cold. So if you're not in a clean place, then you handle it when maybe your hands are dirty. It's very easy for guys to get food poisoning. This is red velvet crumbs. So you just decorate. My hands are clean. You can do this with gloves. I'm going to decorate with this. It's got a piping bag. This is what guys use to pipe the roses on top of the cake. Use some chocolates to decorate. So sometimes I make my own, sometimes I buy, depends. We have, these are called toppers. Normally we buy them. We have cake accessory shops that normally sell these things. You don't have to stress yourself. They come ready. And it's ready to go for delivery.
Like any other food business, the cakes and pastries business also comes with its share of challenges, from unfair competition to finding customers who appreciate their products.
It was a challenge, reaching out to people, we had to think, as in how can we reach people in a way that it's not too expensive, since it's a business that was starting, and then reach out to the clientele that we were targeting. So for him, he really had to come up with ideas. He really had to work.
Even the basics of cake PLC. Shh, I didn't say that, but yeah, true. You have a big order, you are ready to bake, and then lights go off for a day or two. So will you cancel? Will you look for a fellow baker and bake at their place and decorate and share the profit with them? We also have had issues with sometimes, like the time we had a shop at near Spamo, and unfair competition. You know, those are the small things in every other business. So we had put up a big signage and all this kind of thing. So somebody made it disappear. You come in the morning and it's not there. So you ask around the town, no, I think it is so and so's. Yeah. So that was something else, and it really brought us down for a season because we really felt demotivated. But we were able to pull up from there and move on. And then COVID came. Oh, that was something.
The challenges they encountered, especially during the COVID season, only served to make them even stronger as they navigated the pricing, quality, and marketing issues.
When COVID hit and they put the curfew, it was a bit hard. So the business went down. And then where our shop was, we had schools. There's a college, and the other schools. The schools were closed, and the kids went home, and there was no business. So, but we kept on pushing, and I think after like 4 months, then we decided it's not working. I think also another challenge is that the market is saturated. Yes, so you really have to think, what can I do different? Don't just stay there and be comfortable. You have to think, what do I do different so that I can keep my customers and also keep attracting more customers and also get those referrals.
You know what they say, what you ordered versus what you got. It's a question of quality and excellence that Jessica and Samuel also face in their day-to-day business as they deliver cakes and pastries to different clientele. Here are some of the lessons they encountered.
Getting a customer to understand that you will not compromise on your quality for the sake of giving them a better price, and they need just to add a little bit more because of the quality, was a challenge. But I think we've had a time when we convinced somebody we met and they were like, no, you're too expensive, more than A, B, C, D. And I told them, I am giving you a money back guarantee. Buy our cake. If you don't like it, I will give you a full refund. And so they bought, they ate. Then they call the next week. I'm like, boss, now this is when I refund somebody's money. Yes. Then he calls and says, I want another cake, and we bake. And they're like, so what's the message? He's like, apana yoni ya kukula. I loved your work. And that for me was a pride.
We had to think of how to accommodate other customers. Guys who felt, I don't have that amount of money, but I still want cake. What can you do for me with this amount of cash? We had to think. Then also, when it came to wedding cakes, we got to a point where we would work with a customer's budget. Not now what our prices are. We would ask a customer, what's your budget? Then I would sit down and discuss with the customer, tunamwambia, this is what we can give you with that amount. And it worked. And we'd get guys who, you do one wedding cake, then that client will go tell another customer, hey, but there, kuna Yummy World, talk to them, they work with your budget. And that's how we got our orders.
Make sure your marketing is good. And not only is your marketing good, but you're also having a good product.
Yes.
Because the product is what sells you. We always say in this business, the business that you have is not the business you're doing now. I've baked for you a cake I've given you. That is money that's already in my pocket. That's not business. The real business is what you will say about my product once you've consumed it.
I don't think there's anything we do different, is there? Our focus was building Yummy World, and that's what we did. And from 2017, we have no regrets, do we? No, we don't. We don't. Guys are doing amazing things outside there. So you really have to work hard if you to start this journey.
We love when we receive even the negative feedback from clients. Like, kwa nini ulifanya hivi na tulisema hivi? For us, we really appreciate that because it makes a difference. Sometimes the design that you had agreed and what you produce, somebody, whatever they had in mind, and the way they explained it is different, come up with something different. They may not be too pleased, but when they correct you and the next time you're like, oh, that's what you meant by this and this, the next time it becomes better.
When you put God first, there's a way that things just, and that's, during COVID, that's when we saw God.
As a couple, Jessica and Samuel have learned to appreciate the skills and gifts they bring to the business and are confident of a brighter future for their business.
And trust me, kama tufunga time ya COVID, hautafunga. And also, I would, if you're to enter into this business, make your fellow bakers your friends. Your fellow bakers are not your enemies.
And even learning for the people who've been in the industry for long. The people who, as guys are talking about maybe 5 years officially, 10 years unofficially. The guys who've been in the industry for 20, 30 years. Sometimes even listening in to them makes all the difference. Somebody tells you this is the way you can do this is the way you can do this, you shouldn't do this. Your gift will bring you before kings. And for me, it's something I declare constantly in her life, and I think I would always declare it, that gift that she has, because for her it's beyond just passion, it's just beyond business. There's a gift I've seen grow in her over time. One thing I know for a fact, it will bring her before kings.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, thank God.
And as we always say, we don't just bake, we create memories.
So much to learn, that's for sure, as you set up your cake and pastries business in Nairobi and in Kenya as a whole. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Lessons from the Entrepreneur. My name is Melissa Oduor. To some sports now, Donny van de Beek hit the only goal as Manchester United made it 2 wins from 2 in their pre-season friendly matches after beating Lyon 1-0. After thrashing Leeds United in their opening pre-season friendly, Erik ten Hag played 2 different sides across the 2 halves in front of a 48,000-strong crowd in Edinburgh, Scotland. Donny van de Beek stepped off the bench to make an instant impact by sweeping home a superb volley from Dan Gore's brilliant cross in the 49th minute. The Red Devils will embark on a flight to the US ahead of facing Premier League rivals Arsenal at the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey on Saturday. And former Manchester City defender Benjamin Mendy has signed a 2-year deal for League One side Lorient 5 days after being cleared of rape charges. The left-back was cleared at Chester Crown Court on Friday of raping a woman and attempting to rape another. Mendy became the world's most expensive defender when City paid Monaco £52 million to sign the France defender in 2017. Mendy won the Premier League in his first season with City before being part of the France squad that claimed the 2018 World Cup in Russia. That's how we wrap up Newswatch tonight. Many thanks for keeping me company. I have been your anchor, Melissa Oduor. On the sign language has been Fiona Mweresa. Have a peaceful evening.